Hey guys, welcome to Maximum Capacity. Tonight we're going to discuss 3 more laws from the book 32 Indispensable Laws of Leadership for every worship team. So let's look at the first one. The law of following. The law of following. When I was growing up, I followed musicians, I followed superheroes, I followed other people. I thought I was Bruce Lee, I thought I was Spider-Man, and I thought I could play as good as Liberace, as well as Liberace. Susie Kassem said this: "You were born an original work of art. Stay an original." If you look at the scope of the church today, many churches are copying one another. Many churches that are successful are being copied by churches that desire the same success. So you'll see many people dressing the same as a successful church, or what we deem as successful. We'll see many people trying to teach the same messages as the successful church. We'll see churches singing the same styles of songs, the same genre of music, because they've seen other churches be successful with it. And so they figure that the law of following would apply. When I was a child, I basically went around for 28 different places that we moved before I was 13 years old. So it was difficult to follow any one particular person because we were in the Air Force, and so that's just the way that it was. But I started following superheroes, Spider-Man, Superman, Aquaman. I thought I could swim. I thought I could fly, and I thought I could sling webs. I wore the tights. I wore the capes. I did the whole 9. I thought I was a superhero. Later on, as I grew older, then I began to follow some musicians. One of the musicians, like many of us, I followed Michael Jackson. Then I also followed Tom Jones. Tom Jones, Elvis Presley. Stay off my blue suede shoes. I started playing bass guitar to Shake Your Body Down to the Ground with Michael Jackson, and was trying to learn how to sing and play bass at that time in my life. I was a teenager at that particular time, but the bass guitar is all I had. So here I was imitating these musicians. I could never really dance, but I did my best to sing and to play like some of these guys. Later on, I thought I was Bruce Lee. So I didn't study Kung Fu. I studied Bruce Lee. So I thought I was doing Jeet Kune Do, and I thought I was like all in there. So when I was given the choice to do piano lessons or do Kung Fu / karate lessons in an American studio, I chose to do piano lessons because, like I've said before, I knew Kung Fu. I studied Bruce Lee. I studied all those Kung Fu movies where you'd pull the heart out of somebody. So I thought I could do that. I didn't ever try it, but I thought I could do that. So later on, I did take piano lessons for about some time. And I was influenced by Keith Green. Some of you don't know who Keith Green is, but "Oh Lord, you're beautiful. Your face is all I see." He wrote that song and so many other songs, and he was so good for the church in that season. Leon Patillo, Stevie Wonder, Liberace for his flamboyance and his well-trained classical playing. I just followed these guys, grabbing and gravitating as much as I could possibly get. But there's a Bible verse in John 10:27. It says this: "My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me." In the law of following, there's 2 things that happen. One is that people will follow what they see. People will follow what they see. But it's God's desire that we follow him and not follow others. As we started this particular law, the quote that I read from Susie Kassem, I want to say it again, that you were born an original work of art. And she ends it with saying, stay an original. It should not be our goal to become like another, but it should be our goal to follow after Christ, even in our gifts, our talents, our abilities, in our call, in our administration of our call, what we do, who we are, that we're following after Christ, that we know his voice above all other voices in the law of following, that we follow him first, man second. Many times we follow man because our appetite for success, for more money, many times is the goal, right? Proverbs speaks of this. Proverbs 23 verses 2 through 4. It says, put a knife to your throat if you are a man of great appetite. Verse 3, do not desire his delicacies, for it is a deceptive food. It's deceptive food. Do not weary yourself to gain wealth. Cease from your consideration of it. You know, many times we will do the following after one another because we want great wealth. It's deceptive. It's deceptive. We see what another person has done to gain great wealth. We see the things that have happened in their life as they were trying to attain this great wealth, and we assume that that is the way to go. So we want to be like this person. We want to be like that person. I'm not going to name names. But the Bible says to be careful because it can be very deceptive when you get an appetite for wealth. Our appetite can get the best of us, desiring what another possesses, even the intangible, like a talent or a skill that one may possess. You see it bringing them great success, notoriety, popularity, and money. The Bible says cease from consideration. Cease from consideration of it. Don't follow it. Don't sit and eat at the table. That is as don't discuss it. Don't entertain it. Don't put that in your head and let it get into your heart. Once it gets into your heart, you start trying to become that. But you don't want to become it. You do not want to give it consideration, which is a word that is synonymous with meditating. You don't want to consider it or meditate on it and become that which you consider and yield to that appetite. Be careful what voice you follow. In another book called Sound of the House, I talk about following the voice of the Lord and following the voice of your pastor when you are working as a worship leader. You have a boss and you have Christ. And each of those are trying to communicate to you the will of God for a particular service. You have the will of God and the will of man that needs to be communicated in a particular service. In this case, you are better equipped when both men, the pastor and the worship leader, are seeking after God at the top. So you have the worship leader and you have the pastor, and then you have Christ at the top. When both men are seeking after him, communication is good, and we're following after Christ. And we have good communication here on a horizontal plane, right? Between man and man. And then we have good communication between both men vertically with Christ, following after Christ. I can follow you when you are following Christ. I can't follow you when you're not following Christ. We're going to talk about that next when we talk about the law of submission. The last part of the law of following says, hear his voice and learn his ways. Matthew 11:29 says this, take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. The yoke represents the teachings of Christ, right? So take his teachings, his yoke, and learn the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, the how of who Jesus is. The Holy Spirit is waiting for us to follow his lead and not another. Henry T. Blackaby said this: some spiritual leaders try to be more committed. What they need is to be more submitted. And that takes us to our next law. We want to look at the law of submission. All right? The law of submission. Great leaders recognize great authority. Great leaders recognize great authority. The operative words in this particular quote are great leaders, great authority. Okay? So as a child, I was told to obey my parents. As a child, we are always told, obey, obey. And many times we're told to sit down. I was told, just like you, sit down, stop doing that, stop singing that, stop saying that, something, you know. And I was asked to do a lot of other things, and many times I got in trouble. My parents believed in whippings, so whooping. They whooped on me. And I'm sure many of you might have experienced that too. I've had parents, I've had teachers do it as well. Anybody in authority, right? So here's a couple of things that I wrote about this particular law. The law of submission. In my experience as a worship leader, many times I've come across musicians who prefer to play a song their way, while I'm asking them to play it another way. Sometimes the singer wants to sing that note, that special note, that's special to them, right? Instead of being limited to the notes in the song. When you're a part of something bigger than yourself, though, you must realize the boundaries and work within them to achieve greatness. The way that goes is that many times we'll give a person a song to play or give a person a song to sing. And, you know, in church, we're dealing with volunteers. Sometimes we're dealing with volunteers who they may not be capable of playing the song the way that it actually goes. I get that. Then we have those that are very talented and they want to add a lot to the song. I get that too. And we appreciate both because both are giving their gift, their talent, their ability to the cause of Christ and to our causes as a worship leader over a department. And our cause is to get the goal accomplished, right? Each Sunday, each time we come and meet for service. What's important, though, is that we are able to submit our gift even to the song, right? To submit our gift and not always go beyond the boundaries of what we're supposed to be playing or what we're supposed to be doing. I'll tell you a story I just thought of. So Israel Houghton would visit our church, and many times, I mean, we were at this time we were very close, and so he was there a lot. And when he first started coming, I was familiar with a little bit of his music. He was with Champions for Christ, and I would sing, you know, a few of the things that he would do, and I would kind of rearrange them a little bit. I'm known for rearranging songs and making them mine, whether it's a hymn or a worship song or whatever. So he would come to the church and we would do one of his songs before a service or something like that. And he'd be like, man, what are you doing? That's not how it goes. And that's what that's what we're talking about. We're talking about being able to submit your gift, your talent to the way the song actually goes. And not always adding something to it, whether I'm holding a note here, changing parts there, adding rhythms here. Many times it's just good, just do the song like it's supposed to be done. But also, if it's the wish of your worship leader, it would be great to just submit that gift and do the song the way that they are asking you to do it. Maybe without all of the runs, right? Or maybe without all of the, you know, hitting every tom, or maybe not playing every key on the keyboard, but maybe just padding, you know, maybe just holding the groove down on the rhythm, and maybe just singing the notes that are already there, established, right? It's the law of submission, when I talk about it, is a little bit different because we think about submitting, you know, in different ways. But this is a very real way, an application of submission that we deal with week after week with the people that we deal with. People want to do what they want to do. And many times they will use their gift and put it in front of submission and then not submit because they're so super talented, right? If you don't like the person asking you to submit, you probably should not be under that person. Or you shouldn't be a part of that company or that church. You should find someone that you are willing to submit to. This is true for marriage. This is true for friendship. This is true for relationship where you have authority that is over you. Your church is not the place where anything goes. This is really important. Everybody can't be the head. Just because it's church doesn't mean that there are just a bunch of heads. Everybody can't be the head. We need somebody who's willing to serve and wash the feet of others, right? Those are considered the greatest leaders, those that are willing to serve. Leaders never succeed that don't learn how to follow. There's that word again, first. Leaders wash the feet of others. Leaders wash the feet of others. That is synonymous with where you have been, what you have learned, what you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly things. I'm willing to go in and wash your feet and serve you so you can be new, whole. Many times we come from different places and we haven't been treated right. Come in and wash you, cleanse you, make you whole again. That's the job of a leader. It's a hard pill to swallow for the rebellious, but for those that understand submission, they realize it's a privilege and not a burden. Good leaders find good leaders to submit to. But that's not enough. Great leaders find great leaders to submit to. Great leaders do not submit to good leaders. Great leaders do not submit to good leaders. So be a great leader. That's good, huh? That's good. That is the law of submission. Hey, let's do one more. Let's look at the law of talent. This is the law of talent. John Maxwell has a great book called Talent is Not Enough. You should read that book. That is actually my quote for this particular law. Talent is not enough. When I was growing up, I grew up one of the places that we lived was Chicago. In Chicago, we were at a multicultural Baptist church, okay? And it was really multicultural. It wasn't just black and white. It was black and white. It was Swedish. It was Hispanic, and Asian as well. And so it had some different people in there. And it was great because we all came together and we would do worship. Worship was with hymns, pipe organ on one side, piano on the other side, facing each other, and pulpit in the middle. And we would all get in there and flow together. Baptist church, south side of Chicago. What I found out was that there were so many people that could play piano, so many people that could run circles around me. I remember, and I tell this story in the book of the Law of Talent. At some point in high school, I had a girl who was a friend. They call them girlfriends. And she had a brother who, the dad needed a piano player, and he was pastoring. And so he prayed over his son, who was just under 12 years old, to play. And the boy was playing like crazy. I mean, stories like that are a blessing, but I hate stories like that. It's like you work so hard to do this thing, and somebody just gets blessed and they got it. And I know it's awesome. Oh, God be the glory. Awesome. And just blessed, playing circles around me, doing the thing. But I've also seen guys that could sing, and you know these people. They can sing. They're great. They're wonderful. And their life is it's like upside down. But when they're on the stage, they're so good. But in doing life, it's not so good. And you wonder, man, why aren't they out there doing it? How come things aren't different for them? Why aren't they on these big stages? Even though I believe that the church is the biggest stage and the best stage to be on, you wonder, about the success of people and where they are in life when they are so talented. You know, on Facebook, I've seen an older guy that's homeless sitting at a piano. You might have seen it too. And he's just playing his heart out. A piano that's sitting on the street that nobody knew he could play. And he sat down there, homeless guy, and just starts playing. And it's incredible. And they clean him up and get him a job. And he's playing all over the place. And it's awesome. But I guess my point is that in this law of talent, we have to realize that talent is not enough. Why did I write this book, The 32 Indispensable Laws of Leadership for Every Worship Team? Because talent is not enough. And many times we will woodshed our talent, our gift, our ability, our skill, but not our character, our integrity, our who we are, our who we are supposed to be based on who God designed us to be. We don't woodshed those things. We just woodshed our vocal ability, our playing ability. Talent is not enough. Just to have talent is not enough. Having more than one quality increases your value. That just means this, guys. If you play bass guitar, if you play keyboard, if you play drums, if you play a horn, if you're a dancer, if you are a singer, if you are a writer, whatever it is that you do, it's not enough that you only possess that one quality, right? You are more valuable when you have more things under your belt that you can pull from your arsenal and say, I can also do this. I can also do that. Malcolm Gladwell, he wrote the book The Tipping Point, was where when I first became acquainted with him. He also wrote this book called Outliers. Outliers. In this book, he suggests that it takes 10,000 hours for you to become great at whatever instrument or singing, whatever that gift and ability or talent is. 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours. I've asked myself, and I'm asking you, how many hours does it take for character development? How many hours does it take to become a great human being? I've seen a lot of people that are talented that aren't doing what they were gifted to do. I'll give you a couple. I've met a Harlem Globetrotter in a nursing home. Harlem Globetrotter. If you don't know who the Harlem Globetrotters are, look them up. This guy's in a nursing home. I met a former member of the Commodores driving Uber. I know, nothing wrong with Uber, but you know what I'm saying? A bass guitarist. I met a bass guitarist who used to play for Bootsy Collins. Homeless guy. Homeless. A lot of famous singers have overdosed and died overusing some substance. Guys, talent is not enough. to make it to your destiny. Your talent is a vehicle that helps to get you there. But you still need the wheels. You still need the carburetor. You still need the engine. You still need the body of the car. You still need the fuel in the tank. Talent is just the vehicle to help get you there. Talent is just not enough. So let's look at this. A lot of times we look at people and we see them as a one-hit wonder. 15 seconds of fame. But I say to you that you are more than a one-hit wonder. You can make it with just talent, but your longevity increases when you develop yourself past your talent. If you can give time to the development of these 3 qualities I'm about to give you, your life will grow exponentially and your talent will have a foundation of support. 3 qualities. The first one is this: develop who you are. Develop who you are. If you've only gone through these 3 particular laws, you want to go through the whole book. You want to purchase the book and go through it, get it, and let it marinate in there. Develop who you are. This speaks of having a growth plan. Being honest with who you are and looking at who you would like to be in the future. A growth plan. What do you look like 1 to 3 years from now? 5 years from now? How will you become the person you see in your future? Develop a growth plan for the future you. Develop who you are. Not just by reading, not just by writing, but by forecasting. What do I see? What is the vision for my life? And then you begin to stay on that lane, in that lane, on that road, because if anything comes around that isn't helping you get to that goal, you know not to have anything to do with it. And it helps to develop who you are. Number 2, develop who you know. Leaders are influential in every way. You are not growing as a leader if you aren't growing in your relationships. Sometimes you're going to have to change your relationships and decide who are the people that are helping me get to my goals and who are the people that are not helping me get to my goals. I need to help them get to their goals, but they aren't going to help me. We've talked about this before, that usually 20% of the people are not going to help you. You have to find it in the law that I can't remember the law that I talk about that in. You have to lose some relationships and gain other relationships. Developing who you know. Who you know. Number 3, develop what you know. Develop what you know. I can't express this enough. Never pay someone to do a task for you that you don't know how to do yourself, that you haven't familiarized yourself with, even if it's a weakness, that you have an idea, a familiarity with how that functions, how that goes. I don't want you to think that you should develop that into a strength, because you should develop your strengths and put people in a volunteer position or hire out for your weaknesses. I truly believe that. But you have to know and develop what you know so that what you give others to do, you know what they're doing. Learn about what they will be doing for you. Become familiar with the process. Read an autobiography and see how others do life. Reading books will take you to places you've never seen and introduce you to people you've never met. Develop what you know. Don't be content with only developing your craft and not your intellect. Too many creatives settle with just being a good talent. Remember, talent is not enough. That's what we're talking about. So the first one is develop who you are. The second one is develop who you know. When you want to know people, you want to know people that are people of influence. That's how you qualify people. Okay? People think that's not good to do, that you shouldn't qualify people. Okay? But if you want to look around you do that. Look around you and see who your friends are, because that's what your future looks like. So you didn't qualify your friendships. Maybe you qualified them and said, if they're talented, I want to get to know them because I want to sing with them. I want to play my instrument with them. I want to be on the worship team with them. That's not good enough. Find people that are influential. Okay? Find people that are influential and develop who you know. Develop those relationships. Number 3 was develop what you know. So I'm going to end with this thought. What happens to you when people don't want to hear your song? What happens to you when they don't want to hear your voice? What happens to you when they don't want to hear you play? What will you do when they don't want your talent on the platform anymore? You are more than what you do. You are more than what you do. So now is the time to express yourself beyond the limitations of talent and become a leader, become a person of influence. All right? We've looked at the law of following, the law of submission, and the law of talent. Take some time and discuss this. God bless you guys.